This video is brought to you by Squarespace.
Light is a physical thing that you're working with. It's also obviously metaphor. It's what you're working with to arrive at metaphors. It's the age-old symbol for truth. It's expression of truth. So yeah, it's a loaded thing, but fundamentally though, it's just a deeply mysterious, compelling ingredient for your understanding of life and your response to it. I'm not sure I can say anything more about it. It's at the center of why one makes pictures and how one makes them.
When I first came across Robert Adams, it was a video of him speaking about light, and it was on Brian Scootmont's Instagram page. And I looked into his work, and I looked into some of the books that he's published. And at the time, I wasn't really into black and white, so I wasn't that enthralled by it. But it wasn't until I looked into his history and how he is actually a teacher of English that I really began to connect with his work, and not only his work, but the quotes about photography that he has said. When I first started this channel, I feel like I was just making photos and sharing photos with you guys. And lately, I feel like I've been taking photos and trying to put meanings into them that don't necessarily exist. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think every young photographer does that, and I myself am still a young photographer. I've only been doing this for 2 years, so of course I'm going to think that some of the photos that I make mean something more than they actually are. And people will do this for many reasons, one just being to sound or look more important than they are, or they'll do it if they're trying to sell an NFT on Twitter and the photo means nothing, but they need to trick people into thinking that it does. So when I went down to Chester, I wanted to be like Robert Adams. I wanted to just drop myself into this town that I'd never been before. Well, I have been there before, but I went there and I was completely overwhelmed by everything, and I ended up taking no pictures. That was a couple months ago, but I dropped myself in this town, and all I wanted to do was take some photos and document this town. And I didn't want the confines of film to be attached to me, so I took these on digital, and I did my best to replicate the look that I get with something like TMax 100. I've been shooting TMax 100 ever since I started film because I like low grain, I like lower contrast, and I like a really sharp film negative, and that's exactly what TMax 100 gives me. And it was a super cloudy day, and there was basically no light whatsoever from the sun. It was all stuck behind clouds. So I just thought I would make these dark, moody, make Chester look like this mythical industrial town, I guess you could say. And I was actually driving around Chester when I got an email from Squarespace talking about how they would like to sponsor the channel. And if you guys remember, about 10 months ago, I made a video, and on the intro I said this video is sponsored by Squarespace. This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Just kidding. And I was lying at the time and it was a joke, but basically I manifested that for myself, as the NFT photographers say. I use Squarespace myself. I use it for my personal website, brianburks.com, and I use it for multiple reasons. One being the absolute absurdity of how easy it is to build a website on there. I feel like I could teach Emma's grandmother how to build a website on Squarespace. The second reason is because of the galleries. It makes it super simple to set up your gallery, showcase your work, showcase the projects you've been working on, and everything like that. And the third reason is the extensions, the third-party apps that come built into Squarespace. You can use that to ship prints to people across the globe, and you can also use it to settle your taxes and do all your accounting. So thank you to Squarespace for reaching out and trusting me and investing a little bit into the channel. If you want to support my channel, go to squarespace.com/BrianBurks, enter the code BrianBurks, and you'll get 10% off your first purchase. So after rattling off a couple 4x5 shots on TMax 100, it got me thinking about that old film that I used to shoot, Arista 100. And if you guys know my past, Arista and Fomapan, they're basically the same thing, but they're from different suppliers. Arista has given me problems because I get white specks on it every time, and it's happened to a lot of people. And Fomapan says that it's just a problem that you kind of have to deal with. It's not our fault. It's a cheap film, blah, blah, blah. The specs are still there. So Arista 100 can fuck off. Fomapan can fuck off, and I'm never buying it again because Fomapan sells for around $60 for 50 sheets. TMax 100 is around $130 to $150 for 50 sheets. These shots of the smokestack in St. Louis were inspired by Nathan Hirschler's book Chilpaco. This is a little snippet from a Matt Day video flipping through that book that he made. He went around Chillicothe, Ohio, and showed different views and vantage points of the paper mill there, which is called Chilpaco, hence the name. But I wanted to draw inspiration from that and go around St. Louis and take some photos of the smokestack of the International Shoe Company. And right off the bat, you can see that TMax 100 is going to be less contrast. And when you zoom in specifically on this smokestack, you'll see the sharpness is a lot greater on TMax 100, and the grain is a lot more prevalent on Fomapan 100. And obviously I was thinking that was going to happen to begin with because it's 3 times more expensive, so it should be sharper, it should have less grain, things like that. So after taking some landscape photos, I wanted to do some portraits as well to see how it deals with photographing people. And I took these photos of Emma in our backyard, and I missed focus a couple times because it was incredibly too dark and the exposures were around 1/10 of a second to 1/20th of a second, but I overexposed these by 1 stop, and I think that worked a lot better than the landscape photos, which I shot at box speed. And as you can see, these are incredibly different. I'm not sure why they look so much different than the landscape photos, but you can see the TMax is very low contrast and the Fomapan is very high contrast. So my overall opinion of Fomapan 100, specifically large format, if you just bought a 4x5 camera and you're looking to practice, I would recommend getting a pack of Fomapan over something more expensive like TMax 100 because you're going to make mistakes, you're going to miss focus, you're going to load up your film wrong, and it's better to just practice on something like Fomapan instead of something that's going to cost you a lot of money in the long run. Lastly, I just want to say that I'm sorry if this re-uploaded video looked kind of similar to the last one. I tried to add in some things and say some different things to not make it the exact same. I apologize for that because I've been dealing with way too many people's opinions on things, and I'm overthinking literally everything that I do. And I just want to get back to making videos because they're fun, making videos because I want to, and not worrying about the meaning of videos, because sometimes you make videos that have no meaning, and that's perfectly fine. Sometimes I make shit photos, sometimes I make good photos. Most of the time it's shit. And that's just the way things are as a photographer, and you'll soon realize that as well. Not everything you make is going to be good, and most of the stuff you make is going to be shit. And that's the kind of thinking that I want to get back to. I just want to make photos and make videos that are fun to me. And I've been thinking way too much about what other people want and what other people want to see out of me. So hope you guys enjoyed that. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for the support on Patreon as well. That's crazy that you want to give me your money to make these videos. And I just appreciate you guys, and I look forward to making the next one.